great one. So we'll see how the contest ends up. Back to you guys.
Thanks a lot, Kip. A lot of amazing riders here in the Vert competition. After the first runs, on top, Greenville resident Mike Laird, a score of 82.75. First rider to go will be Jimmy Walker. This guy works at a park that has a lot to do with the history of BMX, Scrap, out in Chicago.
That's right. Actually, many of the bicycle stunt competition finals were in Scrap. We all converged on Chicago, and mayhem ensued. And Jimmy certainly has a lot of history himself. You know, he used to wash windows on the high-rises out there, and now he's out here doing some great variations, starting things off. Now, Jimmy hasn't been on the competition scene as much as we've seen him in the past, but it looks here like he's been really taking that chance to work on some new moves. What are you going to watch for, Pat? Again, remember, these guys are going to be doing big tricks and then combining with the technical tricks, just what Jimmy's doing here. He's doing some lip tricks, and it's right back into the airs.
All right, there with a 540, Jimmy Walker.
Two 540s going back to back. Oh, sliding out, but that's what they want to see. You have to go back to back. You have to do all your tricks and combine the big ones with the technical lip tricks.
Well, Jimmy, being the veteran pro, did that. A mixture of airs and technical lip tricks as well.
I'm so psyched. He's going so big on that no-hander, and then he comes right back into it. And look, there's no place like home, making like Dorothy and Oz on that Superman heel click. All right, and here's the technical aspect. He goes for the feeble grind, and then watch at the last second, Pat. He switches it up with a little bit of a peg bonk on the way in.
Jimmy Walker, the new score to beat, an 89.25, but stick around when we return. The ever-so-powerful riding of Kevin Robinson.
If you're afraid, stay home. You just got to stay on your game. You know, don't hate.
Stop of the VANS Triple Crown at BMX. Right now, looking back at some of the other competitors here in the finals, showing promise, Dave Mirra and Ryan Nyquist's protege, Josh Harrington, definitely making his mark this year. Another Greenville native, Steve Nowak.
Steve's been riding for a really long time. He's been a pro for about 4 years, having a little trouble with that peg stall, but the 540 was no problem for him.
A rider who started in racing and has really made his mark in dirt, Brian Foster.
He has got such style, and he's bringing it on over to the vert ramps.
And originally from Minnesota, now in Greenville, coming off a cracked vertebrae, Jeremy Famberg.
He did that injury earlier this year. He's already back on the bike, showing you how dedicated he is to his sport.
And a rider who moved to Camp Woodward this summer to focus on his riding, Chad Kagi.
He's been riding a lot with Kevin Robinson and Tom Stober out there at Woodward on the vert ramp, trying to push himself.
Currently, here's how things sit on the leaderboard with just a few riders that have gone with their first runs. On top right now, Jimmy Walker, the score 89.25. That is the score Kevin Robinson is going to have to beat on his first run. Kevin, a very dedicated rider prior to becoming a pro. Kevin Robinson made ends meet just to ride.
You know, I worked full-time for 12 years doing upholstery. And I went to college, but I sat behind a sewing machine every day, you know, sometimes 70, 80 hours a week. And then trying to find time to ride, plus I was kickboxing then, so, you know, I'd get out of work and go to kickboxing, get done, and go ride, you know, and didn't know how I did it.
Whatever you do, do not question the commitment of Kevin Robinson. This guy works out every day, even focuses on his diet, a very focused rider.
And he has been really pushing himself of late. There you see a big no-hander into an X-up. You know, I remember Kevin sitting up on the deck in 1992. He was the skinny kid up there with the likes of Matt Hoffman, Dave Mirra, and Jay Miron. And now this guy is really taking competitions to a new level. Yeah, big 540. That's something you can expect out of him all the time.
And you're seeing a lot of the riders, much like Kevin, they stay at Camp Woodward, they focus on their riding, and it is shown in his riding here.
Look at this, Pat, a switch-handed one-hander, 540. That's exactly what we want to see out of him, and a big old barrel roll flare. Kevin is the first guy to start doing flares in that way.
Really drifting, using the entire ramp on the flare.
Now, we have seen a lot of setups out of Kevin, but where he makes up for that is from just the burliness of his tricks.
Kevin, at the end of his run, one of the great things about bike stunt, you'll hear the buzzer here in just a second. Each rider will get an extended 15 seconds if they want to use that. And that really pushes the sport, allows these guys to take chances where they normally wouldn't in a contest run.
Now, whenever I see Kevin drop in like this, I get my fingers crossed for him. Yeah, there you go. A nice no-handed flare. He is the first rider to do that trick. Did it at the Gravity Games last year. But hey, let's go back, take a look at some of the big tricks Kevin was pulling off. He's always pushing the envelope. Here you go. Switch-handed 540. You see his hand switch. One hand comes off. Awesome trick, and then he goes right into this next move, which was a beautiful carving flare. It's the first guy also to start doing them in that style. See how far he travels, Pat. And finally, as I mentioned, he's the first guy also to do the no-handed flare. Just incredible, and the strength to hold on while landing.
A solid run from Kevin Robinson. His score, a 93.25. He is our new leader. When we return, the riding of iconic Dennis McCoy, along with the winner from Utah, Dave Mirra. Right Guard Extreme Sport World Championships, the second stop of the VANS Triple Crown of BMX. Previously, Kevin Robinson put together a solid run, especially here with the no-handed flare. His score, a 93.25. He's our current leader. Still to ride, however, Dennis McCoy. He is a figurehead in the sport. Reason being, he has been there since its inception. He's watched the sport evolve from its beginnings.
Now, the progression of the sport doesn't surprise me at all, because that's been the one constant throughout, is that it constantly changes. I mean, since the mid-'80s, when they first started holding the first freestyle contest, each year the level has just stepped up another notch. And, you know, now there are things like the Vert resin foam pits that are kind of allowing it to go, you know, one step further. But we're at a point in our sport right now to where it's really popular and a ton of people are riding. So the more people you have at a competitive level contributing to the progression of the sport, the faster it's going to progress.
Dennis, one of the more charismatic individuals in this sport, but also he's been there, you know, kind of dedicating and throwing into the sport along with those other riders.
Dennis is known as the KC Rogue, and I've had the chance to ride with him through New York City, actually. It's like a test for survival when you go riding with Dennis out there. But here he is doing a nice candy bar on the vert ramp. Ooh, getting into a little trouble there. Nice bar spin back. I'll tell you, Pat, it's awesome to see Dennis McCoy ripping up so much.
Well, not a lot of people know this. He's a very versatile rider. You see the flatland influence right there. He is a former flatland champion, and it's great to see that versatility in a pro's run.
Yeah,
yes, solid
nice flare. Now, you see in the carving flare, you can see how Dennis goes straight up, right back down. That is a textbook flare. I mean, a gymnast couldn't do it better.
Also, an important note about Dennis McCoy, he's literally taking the reins of this sport, helping guide it into the future with organizing.
Alley-oop, look out! Now, that's something we haven't seen in a couple of contests, but Dennis McCoy is known for shooting off the ramp and taking out spectators, bikes, and, as you can see, a cameraman.
Target practice.
Okay, well, here you have the Dennis McCoy original. That is his own tabletop can-can. He's been doing that for many years. And the flare, again, it's a backflip 180, and he comes down perfect. Now, keep your eyes on our cameraman. I hope he's got good insurance. Check it out. Shooting right off, and, oh, just missed him.
Dennis McCoy, his score, a 93. That'll put him in third place. Next up, a rider who brings a lot of creativity and a very high standard to vert. Watch how he utilizes practically every wall. It's Dave Mirra.
Now, Dave's first love is vert. He's got himself a vert resi, which is a padded vert ramp. That enables him to try big tricks and land without some of the consequences that you can get just from doing it on a regular vert ramp. And here he's setting up a couple of setup airs, but look at how high that no-handed 540 is. And here he is right into his run. Watch back-to-back is what he'll be doing. Yeah.
Very few setup airs in a Dave Mirra run.
Now, you've heard us talk about skateboarders going switch. Dave having a little trouble right there, but Dave actually goes both directions on his bike, turning both ways and doing tricks both directions. It's similar to switch on a skateboard. And there you have an opposite bar spin right into a nice tail whip.
Literally on one sheet, just on the tail whip, it's amazing how he can stay so straight and vertical in one section of the ramp.
Precise is what I like to say, Pat.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the carving flare. It's almost a different trick when he does it. You see Kevin do more of a barrel roll. That's almost just like a backflip, starting from point A and landing point B somewhere else.
And that is going to do it for Dave Mirra. Mike Laird approves. Great run. A lot of no-handed variations.
Yeah, like the no-handed 540. He had to have been upwards of 8 feet on that. And he goes right into a no-hander. See how he's linking his tricks back to back? And here is an opposite one-footed X-up. That's going his opposite turning direction. And finishing it up with a nice tail whip.
Dave Mirra, he is our new leader, a score of 95.75. So after the first run, here's how things stack up. Dave Mirra with that 95.75. Second place, Kevin Robinson and Dennis McCoy in third. When we return to Louisville, one of the VANS Triple Crown of BMX from Salt Lake City, Utah, when it re-airs on September 13th as a part of the VANS Off the Wall Hour on Fox Sports Net. Looking back at second run action, when it comes to fan favorites, not many compare to VANS team rider Rick Thorne. Rick, in his efforts to impress, tried the backflip, but couldn't quite pull it. He tried once more for the crowd and came close to pulling it, but would end up injured. Dennis McCoy couldn't improve upon his first run either and called it quits after this 540. Another rider reinventing himself in Louisville was Jeremy Fenberg. He's recently added the flair to his run and wanted to pull it. After receiving a little coaching from the master Dave Mirra, Jeremy tried a third time without success. Count on seeing Jeremy Fenberg in the finals come Oceanside. Here's a look at the current standings. On top, Dave Mirra, followed by Kevin Robinson and Dennis McCoy. Right now, we join Kevin Robinson midway through his run. Earlier in the run, had some technical difficulties.
His bars moved inside of his stem there. I mean, he's such a big guy and it's such a force he lands. Watch the bars on this first 540. You can see them slip when he lands. And once that happens, you really get things knocked off. People like to keep their bikes in a nice, comfortable position, but he still manages to come on out and do a no-handed 5 afterwards. And here, landing low also, getting a little bit of a headbang in there.
Unfortunate for Kevin, the time in his run is now over. Right now, this is more for the people in the stands and himself.
He's a bit of a showman. He likes to go out there and do something really big for them. And it makes me nervous when I watch Kevin sometimes. Yeah, big flare, the carver.
Kevin,
oh, look out! Man, he just had no speed on that second flare test. He's okay. Whatever.
It looked like a
okay.
cat being thrown out of a second-story window on that.
Well, here we are. Here's the first flare. Gets it around, but he lands low, and he doesn't have enough speed. Watch how he stalls out here. Gets it going, but oh, man, I'm not going to make it, so he ejects. And you're going to see it again. Here he realizes, watch, right there, oh, I'm not going to make it. There's no way to muscle it around, so I'm just going to hit the eject button and make like Maverick and Goose in their F-14.
Kevin Robinson, okay in one piece. He is going to remain in second. His second score, an 81.75. Up next, our final rider who now sits in first place, Dave Mirra. His first run score, a 95.75. Much like Kevin, Dave Mirra competes with himself. Right now, he's just trying to improve what he did in his first run for himself.
Well, remember in Utah, he had it all wrapped up. He came back in, and he did probably one of the best runs of his career. You know, his leg would have to fall off before he slacked. Yeah, there you go.
The distance on that flare, that signature Dave Mirra carving style, very influenced through Kevin Robinson.
And here it is opposite. We saw that in Utah. He's been throwing them down now at every vert contest. That's a very difficult thing to do. You have to be very comfortable on your bike.
Such subtleties that go on in a Dave Mirra run. The fact that he's going switch and just watch the hands and the feet really mixes it up and throws a lot of variations in his run.
Nice carving tail whip also. Yeah, a little lazy one-hander. That's like a Dave Mirra one-hander. He could basically land with one hand if he wanted. Now this run, so far, not bigger than his first run, but hey, you know what? He's having a good time out there, and that's going to be it. He's waving them off.
That run may be a little low energy compared to the first, but it had some of the basic ingredients in a Dave Mirra run.
Keep your eyes on how he spots his landing, and there it is. Very comfortable on his bike, and you can see that when he does this bar spin look, he just lets his hand dangle. It's like a Mirra style there. And it finishes things off with a nice opposite flare.
Dave Mirra, he will stick with his first run of 95.75. That means he is our Vert competition winner. Right now, Kips with Dave.
Dave, great job today on the Vert ramp. This is your second consecutive win in the VANS Triple Crown of BMX on the Vert ramp. How'd you feel today?
I felt really good in the contest. In practice, it was a little weird. I mean, it was supposed to rain today, so you're kind of playing with your emotions, whether you're gonna, wake up and see rain or you're gonna wake up and see sunshine. So, first 15 minutes, I was on the ramp and I'm like, man, it's not really feeling all that well. And took a break, kind of thought about it, and said, man, I'm happy to be here. Ride your best. So I went up and just in practice, I was actually doing a lot of stuff that I haven't done in a long time. And come to the runs, I was a little nervous, but then I, put it all together and tried to.
Nice night out of there at the VANS Triple Crown.